Hey aspirants, welcome to Insights IAS initiative. Hope you all are doing good. In today's first topic, we'll talk about a non-constitutional and a statutory body called National Green Tribunal. So we have seen various questions being asked in UPSC Mains about functioning about non-constitutional bodies, because theoretically what is the structure and functioning of this we can read it through our textbooks, but in practicality what ails the functioning of these organizations and what are the challenges it is facing is something we can get through the newspapers itself. And in one such recent newspaper article from Live Mint, we had seen that there are some issues going on with the functioning of NGT. We'll just go through them so that if we get any questions related to National Green Tribunal or even with respect to environmental jurisprudence, we can use this discussion fruitfully. So, going forward, what was the concept of NGT? Just as a revision for you, NGT is a statutory body which was formulated through an act of the Parliament. So, again in the Supreme Court, there were a spate of writs filed by an advocate called M.C. Mehta. So, as a result and as a response to this, many landmark environment related judgments were also given by Supreme Court, and it was identified that it is exclusively important to create a particular law court or an executive quasi judicial body for the purpose of environment. Hence, in the year 2010, an exclusive quasi judicial tribunal with jurisdiction over all civil cases related to environment were given to National Green Tribunal. So with this, National Green Tribunal was formulated with various benches, the head being in Delhi. So looking at the positives of National Green Tribunal, or what has been majorly unique about it. So the first one we can tell is about its efficiency in handling complex cases. So NGT has been very efficient in this, because it's very much needed in a country which is faced with rapid industrialization and often facing with the challenges of environment versus economy. In such cases, NGT has resolved many cases with great ease, and it's a great achievement of NGT, we must say. The second one is it is empowered to devise its own rules. So, especially its own rules of procedure, unlike other courts where they are bound by the principles of civil procedure. But here, in the case of NGT, they are guided by principles of natural justice. So, this court it's more easier to clear off cases here instead of focusing on strict laws in which it will work. So, the third one brings to the same discussion called it leads to swift justice. Why is it also? Because in an arena often overshadowed by bureaucratic delays, this we can say NGT comes with quicker decision making and quicker justice to the public. So these three advantages are quite unique and relevant when you want to quote for National Green Tribunal. However, now comes the tough part, that is the criticisms of NGT, which run a little longer than the advantages. So, the criticism is basically related to two major aspects, which we will summarize under four major points, that is suo motu power of NGT and allegations of overreach, judicial or NGT's overreach. The 3-4 points we are going to discuss are somehow related to these two aspects. So the first one the author in this article explained was with respect to Thuthukudi copper plant, that is I think it's called Sterlite copper plant. If you recall, Tamil Nadu government had close this off completely. So why it was closed? Due to various pollution of water and air that it created, it was closed down. So someone went as an appeal against the Tamil Nadu government to NGT, and NGT told that closing down of Toothukudi power plant was not genuine because it had created a lot of infrastructure in the region. It created a lot of employment. So this organization called Toothukudi Sterlite Copper Plant cannot be closed and ordered its opening. So once this case was appealed to Supreme Court told that this tribunal, that is National Green Tribunal, it basically overturned the verdict of NGT and further announced the closure of Toothukudi Sterlite Power Plant from this place, and told that tribunal NGT lacked the jurisdiction to entertain appeals against state government orders. So it, according to the act that under which NGT is created, it is not mentioned that tribunal can take up cases as a appeal from the state government or against the jurisdiction of the state government orders here. So this is again an example where NGT kind of overstepped its jurisdiction. The second case discussed here was many a times NGT has overstepped its legislative mandate. Remember to use the same term. Legislative mandate means that what is told to it in the law, it's not just sticking to that, and has ventured into legislative domains. So in paper 2 we have many times got a question about judicial overarch, the thin line between legislature, executive and judiciary getting blurred by actions of either of them. So in such cases also what NGT is doing is a good example. So the third issue that looked as a criticism was Supreme Court in one of its recent verdicts told that NGT can take suo moto cases, but only when it is of the society centric issues. Okay, only when the issues are social centric. And with what do you mean by social centric issues? It need to fulfill two criteria. The first one is to improve the conditions of the public. The second one is to prevent harm. So if there is any kind of suo moto taken, it should be fulfilling either of the two conditions. If not, the suo moto cases would be invalid. But many a times in the recent times, NGT has breached this particular we can say guidance of the Supreme Court. And the fourth aspect is federal, we can say NGT has led to many instances of federal imbalance. Right? What is the meaning of this? One very recently, I think even in Down to Earth, there was an article which had spoke about it. That is, in one of its recent verdicts, NGT told that real estate developers must secure environmental clearances from center and not the state governments. This is understandable from the case of NGT because many of the state government laws are not close enough, or let's say state government is not so strict enough when it comes to environmental impact assessment as an idea. Hence, if it comes to the center will be more stronger towards the protection of environment. Hence, the a particular real estate agency, if they are violating any of these norms, the center will catch hold of them. However, this is nothing but a violation of federal balance because land comes under the state list, and by just giving a verdict that the clearances for real estate projects needs to come from the center, it is not only delaying the whole mechanism of clearances, it leads to a loss of resource wastage and goes on making the project expensive, because if the clearances delay, the amount just goes spiking. And at the same time, local authorities are better equipped to understand the regional needs. We need not allow the center to come and do the work here. So this is something that we can tell, that if all this is going on, it erodes public trust on NGT. It definitely gives the perception that NGT is overreaching its domain. So what could be the outcome, or what could be the need of the hour or solution part? We can tell that there is a need of an independent review of the tribunal's scope. That is, we need an organization, or let's say a committee which will review on the tribunal scope and what its exact functions are. The second solution could be refining its powers, that is to make it very clear as in what are the powers of NGT, powers and also various other processes in the which NGT functions. The third one is aligning its actions with statutory mandates. That is what exactly the act is telling. It should be doing that mainly, and not taking up random suo motos that will impact its efficiency. The fourth one is maintaining collaborative relations with other public authorities. So with this, the NGT's efficiency would increase, because it will not function as a silo in itself, but try to coordinate with other important bodies whose decision also would matter. So if all these let's say effective functioning measures are taken, definitely NGT would champion the environmental justice, especially at a time when India looks forward to many industrial growth, where we would need to compromise environment versus economy a lot. So in such cases, making sure that our growth story is sustainable, we definitely need a robust NGT in place. So the next topic is a 4-point wish list for Indian agriculture. So this again was picked up from the Live Mint, as there are a lot of news going on with respect to agriculture. Multiple farmer protests are going on, and there is demand for legalization of MSP and the likes. So in this context, this article is especially a kind of request to the upcoming budget, that these provisions are something that can make Indian agriculture really great. So before going into the solutions, the author has also given us 4 major problems that the agriculture sector is facing in the form of 4 crises. So let us look into them. They are definitely going to be of a great value to your mains answer writing, especially paper 3, when you are specifically asked about India's agriculture sector. So what are the 4 crises? We can broadly divide them into this format so that you will remember it easily. The first one is, what we talk about is income crisis. Income crisis is due to a lack of income or falling income of the farming households, is leading to investment crisis. That is, as we farmers do not have income, they're not able to make fruitful investments into the farming land, thus not having a major impact on positive productivity of the farmlands. So this is the first crisis. Try to memorize it right here. First is the income crisis, which is because of falling income of farmer households, leading to investment crisis. The second one is factor crisis. That is, if you recall, factors are those which go into production process of agriculture. And in agriculture, what are the major factors that we need? We need soil, we need water, and of late the quality of both of them is drastically coming down. Quality and at times even quantity of water as well. So rapidly degrading natural resources like soil and water has led to factor crisis to the farmers. The third crisis that is we can talk about is accelerating human resource crisis. So what is this HR we are talking about? It is about rural youth losing faith in agriculture as a viable employment option. They don't believe that they can make a great livelihood and a career out of agriculture because of the lack of income that agriculture is currently acting as a challenge. So third crisis is accelerating human resource crisis, and the fourth or the most dangerous one is climate crisis. So as we can see that it is threatening India's food security and also threatens India's farmers' livelihood completely. So what do we do for this now, or what are the solution at the longer scale to make sure that we solve the problem of these four crises? Author here gives very unique suggestions in the form of 4-point formula. So it's a kind of wish list for the farmers. So first one is re-establish a relationship of trust and cooperation between center and states. Why this is required? Because there is as of now no mechanism to discuss agricultural policy free of political friction, right? So any state party or center party, we usually tend to give the political idea to agriculture, but this environment needs to be free of politics. That is one point here. So as a suggestion, the author talks about creating an organization like GST Council, right? An organization in the likes of GST Council for agriculture. So what will we do here? It will enable to focus our energies on rebuilding our agricultural ecosystem, because if you see GST as a body, it is federal in nature and also is involving the state and the center as a common platform. So this or body in the form of a national body for agriculture would work on building agriculture ecosystem, and agriculture will be used as an engine for food security. We can discuss about all these things: food security, employment, and value addition to our rural households. So re-establishing trust and cooperation between the center by establishing a council just like a GST council. So this would help in making discussions in a politics free environment. The second idea told here is identify the worn out parts of agriculture. That is, there are many things in agriculture that are kind of outdated, and such parts need to be identified and we need to rebuild them so that our ecosystem is robust. Just take, for example, agriculture research. It is not on par with what the modern world countries are doing. We can also talk about agriculture extension, that is from laboratory to to the farms. This is not so effectively done. What is still under construction is rural credit. It's not yet a full fledged option. Rural infrastructure is still a worn out entity, we can tell. Agriculture technology also comes under the same policy. Pricing policy of agricultural goods, some come under the same category. So the suggestion that the author gives here is about leveraging private sector. For what purpose? Private sector capacity and investment can be taken advantage of here. That is, we need to create a national farm commission. Okay, National Farm Commission, which will involve domain experts, right? It will involve domain experts, it will involve private members and farm representatives, private and farm representatives, who would discuss on how to rectify these worn out sectors of Indian agriculture. So the third one is decentralized, regional and state centric approach to planning and implementation. Why we are talking about a decentralized approach? Because agriculture is very much specific to a particular area. It depends on agro climatic conditions. Then it also has a lot to do with land tenure systems of the local area. Food safety of the local area needs to be taken into consideration. Nutritional support that agriculture provides to the area needs to be taken into consideration. We just cannot plant some random crop and tell that let's grow this, because a particular crop traditionally grown in an area would support the nutritional requirement of that state or a region specifically. So we also need to focus on short and medium term factors of production that goes into agriculture. So what is the suggestion for this? Just like how we saw a national farm commission, here we would apply the state farm commission. So this would be a more decentralized approach where the farmers will be partners and not receivers of benefits that the state or the center is giving to them. So when farmers are made partners, no agricultural story can go as a failure. So the fourth one is integrating climate change and food security when we are making policies. So this requires whole of government approach. That is, here we need most of the efforts coming from the government end, because for us climate change as a concept, when we talk about climate change, what is the idea that comes to our mind? We just talk about reducing CO2 and emissions, but for Indians, especially the country which is having a lot of farmer base and the food exporter of the world, for us climate change should also mean access to food and basic livelihoods. Right? So this should be our basic intention as well when we talk about climate change. So what is the suggestion given by authors here? They are quite interesting in this matter. You can note it down. Suggestion given is we can create a national climate fund for agriculture. So what is this fund for? This fund initially would have a corpus of, let's say, rupees 5,000 crore. And what will we do this with this money? This money will be utilized to help farmers to take a transition, or to change or to adapt, transition to new resilient technology and practices required to climate proof agriculture. So these four solutions that we usually talk about when climate change is a matter of concern would be relevant in the discussions of agriculture. So any questions related to GS paper 3 agriculture sector, you can pick and choose the points from this based on the context of the question. If none of them are specifically asked, these four crises would definitely be very unique point in representing in your answers. The next topic is a kind of small inspirational story from the life of Mr. Sumit Kumar. So the person you can see in this image is Sumit Kumar, a 31-year-old teacher who teaches for the students from class 1 to 10. There are around 100 slum children, but the very unique thing is his classroom or school is not a formal setup but a cremation ground. So he teaches around 100, more than 100 children in Muzaffarpur of Bihar since the year 2017. And the name of the school is very unique. It is called Appan Pathshala. Appan Pathshala. So this is about this. So this Pathshala has kind of transformed the lives of underprivileged children, giving them a chance to break from the cycle of poverty, we must say. So in the initial days, you can remember the story and also take it down. This person, Mr. Sumit Kumar, met many authorities to seek permission to teach children at the crematorium site. And you know the kind of taboos associated with the site, telling that it's unsafe for kids and all of them. With initial resistance, many parents were also not ready to send their children here. But personally, this person goes and meets everyone and convinces them and today there are 100 girls in his school and somewhere around 20 boys. So he gives them the basic education, as a result of which every year since 2017, every year 20 to 25 children from his Appan Pachala get enrolled into government school to seriously start practicing education. So this has been the greatest achievement at a time when many government schools are getting closed due to lack of admissions. On the other hand, Appan Pachala makes sure it is sending 20 to 25 kids every year to government schools. So it's a kind of giving formalization of education to the kids here. So the other best part is, twice a week martial arts also is taught to girls in this school, and the municipal corporation has also recognized this initiative, and many local authorities have also supported this person in the initiative here. So how this instance would be the example, or how to use them in your answer specifically, it would be relevant in GS paper 4 under the topic of empathy and compassion, because Sumit Kumar would have chosen a different profession, but his initiative is demonstrating empathy towards underprivileged and a kind of commitment to social equity, we must say. Then the second one is, it talks about moral leadership as well. That is, it exemplifies the moral courage. It's not easy to start a school in a crematorium where society would frown upon. So this moral courage and leadership, by taking very unconventional route to address the educational needs of slum children, is worth the efforts, we must say. So if you give, you can also use this story as a case study, because in your case studies in GS paper 4, if you are having a good will, you just have to find out the route for it, right? If the will is, and there is a very popular quote, where there is a will, there is a way. So in case studies like this, if you feel that you want to give education to the underprivileged, you can tell that addressing inequality or taking grassroots initiatives like Sumit Kumar would really make a lot of difference. At the same time, many a time UPSC has asked essays about education also. Very recent one was, education is what we remember after, education is what stays with us after we forget that what we have learned in the school. So in such cases, education doesn't really require a huge setup and a huge investment. If the society wills, it can definitely educate the people with bare minimum resources. So at the same time, we can also talk about paper 2 here, GS paper 2, GS 2 also in governance under vulnerable sections. This would be educating the vulnerable sections and how role of individuals can play a great impact on bringing social change. So at the same time, education will bridge the gap between the privileged and the underprivileged. This would be another in addition to what we are talking about this. So remember the story of Mr. Sumit Kumar. It's a very beautiful way to start your day with. So the next topic is policing with a purpose. This was from the New Indian Express, where we see two interesting stories of the uniformed people who have not kept their jurisdiction to be only territorial, but through their social media presence, they are making sure that their resources are being used by people across the country. And there are many feedbacks which have come to tell that this initiative is really great. So policing is with a purpose is from the state of Madhya Pradesh. So social media savvy cops. So social media savvy cops of Madhya Pradesh, they are harnessing the power of digital platforms to educate, to empower, and to safeguard the citizens. And this has led to a new standard for community policing. Community policing. So if you recall, in our yesterday's episode we had told that especially when it comes to urban transformation, we need a lot of behavioral change, not only from the citizenry side but also from the service provider side. And one of those service providers is the police, who are the first visible face for the general public. So in that, you can just add these points as an extension to the previous discussion as well. So nationwide, if you see the police personnel, they are in the virtual world, or let's say they're very active on social media to reduce misuse of the same social media, or to prevent or protect people from cyber frauds. But here it is not a passive participation but an active participation in itself. We'll see the story of how it has worked. So the first person we would discuss is Mr. Vivekanand Tiwari. You can see his image in the photo here and see that he's a traffic police by profession. So the traffic cop, who is just 35 years old, recently got promoted as a head constable, and before and after 8 hours of traffic duty. Okay, so he is on the road for 8 hours performing the duty of a traffic police, and before this and after this, he is busy on the roads with a cameraman of his own, and tries to meet people. Okay, which kind of people he meets? Students who are driving the two wheelers. He meets the lorry drivers who are frequent on the roads. He meets the bus drivers, both private and the government agencies. He interacts with old citizens who drive the vehicles. So he tells that meeting multiple people, what does he do? He tries to give them the ABCD of traffic safety in his own words. That is, he tells them what are the basics of traffic safety. And trust me, it's not in the form of a textbook exercise, but in a random conversation he integrates it. And this becomes a once in a lifetime experience for people, because they have got the information from the right person here. So many a times Vivekanand Tiwari has mentioned that he has got phone calls from different states as well, especially from Varanasi, where one of the people have told him that his life was saved because they followed the traffic tips told by Vivekanand Tiwari. So one of his recent videos on YouTube goes as with the name, what are the measures to keep in mind when you're buying a second hand vehicle? So there are multiple legal ramifications that would come up when you buy a second hand vehicle. So how to be careful during all of them was a kind of first hand guide given by Vivekanand Tiwari here. So this shows that how when a person is committed to a cause of the work, they can go beyond their duty to work and serve for the society. And it is because of these kind of leaders that we can trust the presence of everybody on the road. So the next example here is Rajni Chauhan. So Rajni Chauhan is inspector in charge, who has been very active with the idea of women empowerment. She has been quite vocal on it. She keeps talking about women education, child marriages, what are the negatives of child marriages, she keeps discussing, and also creates awareness about digital arrests. So this is a recent trend in cybercrime, as we have seen. So there was a time when she used her trusted follower base on Instagram to crack a district level network of drug peddlers. So how social media presence is not just a bane or not something that will intrude into the privacy of an officer's life. It has a lot to do to give a lot of efforts, or let's say add a lot of value in the way you're working and make a great impact, and also be accessible to the public to a great extent. So let us know in the comment section whether the social media presence of bureaucrats and presence of officers like them is necessary, or is it just a additional burden on their occupations. So do mention the examples of Rajni Chauhan and Vivekanand Tiwari in your GS paper 4 answers when you get questions of dedication to duty, objectivity as a idea, integrity to one's own duty. When all these terms come for us to explain for a few marks, Merely quoting or defining them would not suffice. Coming up with unique examples would matter, and here in ICANN we definitely promise to give that uniqueness to you. So this article I have picked up from the business standards trending segment, that is what is trending on the social media. So this was very interesting, where an Indian origin, we can say co-founder of a startup called Loom, recently sold his company to another firm for $975 million. So since then, he has been grappling with a sense of cluelessness and lost purpose. So he had recently written in his blog about, I am rich and I have no idea what to do with my life. So he tells that he also got an offer of $60 million position per month. He broke up with someone, and he tried his hand at robotics and failed there. So this story, or this initiative, or sorry, this particular example of a person who is rich, who is young, who has all the energies and a huge long life left before him, finds a lack of purpose in life. So, don't you think this would be very relevant for many of our ethics topics, like, let's say, his name is Vinay Hiramat. You can mention about his stories in the answers. So, this is a kind of dilemma, or a kind of confusion between material success versus inner fulfillment. Right? It's talking about ethical dilemma of prioritizing material achievements over personal growth and societal contribution. So success measured solely, let's say, in the monetary terms, it often leads to existential dissatisfaction. Let's say it underlines how important values and the purpose of the life are. So remember this example, and I would leave this to our audience to make sure how to use them in your answers, because this has multiple applications and you can use your own creativity in this. Let's say I would give the application to this in emotional intelligence, where a person needs to use aspects like self awareness, self regulation. You would have learnt this in emotional intelligence, and resilience when they take any decisions in their life. And a wealth or achievement alone do not guarantee peace of mind. So we need to have a balanced approach between them. So many a time, let's say you get a quote in essays. For essay, as a quote, let's say, what will the quote be? Success is not the end, but the beginning of a new search for meaning. So this is very much true when it comes to Mr. Vinay Hiramat, because creating a startup for him was a greatest success. As you again see, last class we had discussed about happiness is not in the destination but in the journey, and it was also a previous year essay question for us. So in such kind of discussions, we can use the example of Vinay Hiramat here, because if he had postponed all the happiness and waited just for his startup to grow, he wouldn't be much satisfied in the life. So now his startup is done, he has sold it. Now what next is the purpose? So over a period of time, human beings' goalpost keeps changing. So if we keep on postponing happiness along with it, probably we will never be happy in our lives. So success is not the end, but the beginning of a new search for meaning. Remember to quote this words down. It would be very relevant if try to put a framework of essay for this along with the story of Mr. Vinay Hiramat. So in addition to this, I would like to give a question to all of you, a kind of analytical question related to UPSC PYQ. Andhra Pradesh government recently has started an initiative to give birth and death certificates through WhatsApp. So it is definitely making the life of the people easier, but is that going to be a solution to lack of accessibility to all these certificates at the ground level? That is, we are talking about digitalization. Will it really help the problem of accessibility to basic documents and certifications at the ground level, is the question I would like you to answer. So with this, We'll end today's discussion on I Can. Meet you again in the next episode with more such insights. Thank you so much for staying with us.